welcome to Middle Market Executives Thought Leader Network, where we speak to middle market business leaders about the key drivers of growth across the nation. Today we speak to Mike Dinsdale, CFO of DocuSign, the fast-growing digital signature firm that experienced year-over-year growth of 80% last year, with a workforce expected to be close to 600 by year-end. We begin by asking Dinsdale whether such growth poses a special challenge to the finance function.
I think it is a special challenge because, and it hit home to me when we did our employee surveys, and the survey was all around from your vantage point as an individual. What do you think of? What's your understanding of strategy, of communication, of process that people follow? And it was unbelievable to see that anybody who's in a sort of more service function, so parts of my group that aren't the strategy focused or even finance, feels much more engaged. But when you're building out the accounting infrastructure and trying to put in place sales process, processes around how we invoice, purchasing, all these things that people don't really like to do in the first place, and you're moving 100 miles an hour, and we're hiring 30 or 40 people a month, and everyone wants to go at breakneck speed, and then you've got this half of my group where you say, hey, your job is to put in place process that's scalable, and nobody wants to actually follow it, and you've got pretty much one of the most difficult jobs there is. Corral people in doing things in a way that's repeatable and scalable, and that's just not the sort of rhythm of the company. And it's unbelievably hard to do that, to put in place those processes so you can be a 10,000 person company, but everybody doesn't understand why they can't just get it done now, which is, of course, the thinking in small companies. And it becomes even more important as we become more global. Today we have Seattle, San Francisco, we have Chicago, we have London, we have now Sydney, and we'll likely have something in another geography in the world soon as well, and maybe two more next year. And so then you start to say, wow, these are pretty complicated problems to solve, really that are global problems. And how do we have all the same systems, the same infrastructure, and all that kind of stuff? So I think it is a unique challenge, right? I think, CFOs, they're bridged between being the strategic, drive the business, and put in place all of the process to allow scale. And they're not the same things. They're sort of against each other.
So tell us how finance has a hand in strategy today and influences strategy at DocuSign.
So, in my specific group, we actually have a strategy group. So our corp strategy is actually run from the finance group. And so there, we're actually helping build out all the business cases across the entire company. So all the different initiatives that we have, we're also running M&A, which that's different, but running corporate strategy. And so we're actually involved in helping develop every single business case for all the initiatives, bringing to it strategic thinking folks along with the finance folks who help justify what are we going to get if we spend these dollars, those sort of the true traditional finance type folks. But we also, as I say, have this group of strategy folks who work with every single person in the company on building their business case. And I think that's kind of a new type of finance org that starts to develop. LinkedIn actually is the company that has the model that I'm following.
Now, what model is that exactly, and what is it about that model you wanted to emulate?
They have this corporate strategy group, which is essentially like an internal consulting group. And then you layer on top of that some traditional finance folks who can help with the number part, and that's what they do. They're involved with cross-company, cross-departmental initiatives to help define them. And then there's sort of the group that comes in to help pull it all together and help tell the story, working with folks who are running different parts of the business. And I really liked it. When Steve told me about it, I go, this is great. I want to build the same thing here. And so I hired a guy who came from McKinsey, Americon background, and then he's built out a group of a couple more folks, and that's what they do. It's the model that every company should deploy if you have the right CFO in the spot, who's not the sort of old traditional scorekeeper, but can contribute strategically. And as I say, there's no better way to help justify these different initiatives. And if you understand them, then you put your own weight behind the ones that you believe are important, which just means they're so much more likely to get funded and get funded at the appropriate levels.
You've been listening to Mike Dinsdale, CFO of DocuSign.